One of the top problems that contractors have right now is, how do I recruit? How do I bring in world-class talent? And that's what this fine young gentleman is going to talk about right now. The only other guy out here in a double-breasted suit, Luke McCormack, is coming up from Roofing Talent America.
Thanks, my man. Appreciate it. Thank you. What does it take to build a world-class roofing business? What does it take to build a roofing business which can attract the top 10% of talent in our industry? What does it take to build a business which can retain and engage A players so that they keep pushing forward and take your business to the next level? I don't know, but I know 7 people who do. My name is Luke McCormack, and over the past 10 years, I've helped hundreds of roofing companies across the globe scale their business with getting them operational, managerial, and executive level talent. I can tell you how to grow a recruitment business, but I can't do what you guys do. The reason that I've got here, I started serving roofing contractors in Scotland, and then roofing contractors in the UK and Europe, and then roofing contractors in the world, and now roofing contractors in America. And the way that I've got here is not down to me, it's down to other people. I have went out my way to find mentors, guides, sages, people that I can follow, learn from their mistakes, and be like a sponge with knowledge. And that's how I've taken the business globally. There's a big part of me that wants to teach you what I think, my theory, my subjective perspective on how you should grow your business. But that would be doing you a disservice. My style is to find the best people in the field and learn from them. So that's what I'm doing for you today. The lessons that I'll be teaching today is based off of a book. The book is called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Has anyone ever read the book? Yes, good. This book has sold 22 million copies. It's been translated into 15 different languages. And it has went down in history as one of the greatest business books of all time. So I'll be using the structure of this book to teach you lessons from titans of our industry. So what are the lessons? Number 1, be proactive. So I'd like to congratulate you all for being proactive and coming here today to work on yourself, to work on your business. Most people don't do it. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. Number 3, put first things first. Number 4, think win-win. Number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Number 6, synergize. And number 7, sharpen the saw. These habits can change your life, they can change your business, and they can change your talent strategy. But listen, don't listen to me. Let me tell you who we'll be learning from today. So a lot of you may recognize these names. Winners from our industry, greats, people that have built million, multi-million, billion, multi-billion corporations. We've got Dan Tinker, who's the CEO of SRS. We've got Steve Little, who is the head coach at K-Post here in Texas and NRP. We've got Reed Ribble, who successfully built and sold his own roofing company before becoming the CEO of the NRCA and a successful US congressman. We have Ken Kelly, who spoke today, who successfully scaled and sold his roofing business, retired at 47 and spends most of his life now in his private jet. We've got Randy Korak, who has scaled a platform of roofing contracting businesses. They're nearly at 1 billion. We've got Charles Antis from Antis Roofing in California. And we've got my guide, my coach, my mentor, Chris Zarnick, who literally wrote the book, Winning the War for Talent. And I'll tell you all about Chris at the end. But let's get started. So, habit number 1, be proactive. The person I chose for this is arguably one of the most proactive guys in our industry. He's been at the helm of SRS Distribution as he's led them into becoming the fastest growing and largest company in the history of the American roofing industry. I spoke to Dan about so many things, about culture, about talent, about recruitment, so many things about how he has done what he's done. And I'm going to play a short clip from what Dan said when I was asking him how to be proactive about recruitment and retention.
The simplest way to explain it to me is talent trumps strategy every day of the week. Nick Saban is a famous college football coach. You've probably heard of him. All your audience will have heard of him. He used to say when he was a young, cocky head coach, I'm a pretty damn good coach, and I'm going to win a lot of football games because I'm a damn good coach. And then he came to the realization after 1 year he didn't have that much talent on his team, and he got his clock cleaned by every other team. And he says, okay, I'm not a very good coach, but I'm gonna have to be a damn good recruiter. And if I have the most talent on my football team, it doesn't matter how good or bad I coach the team, the talent's going to win the game. And he said, so my entire role as a head coach is now constantly 365 the whole year is recruiting the absolute best talent. And I have the most talent on the football field than any other team. I'm going to win. I view the exact same thing as the roofing industry. If I have amassed the most talent for my company than any other manufacturer distributor that I compete with, then I am going to win.
So let that sink in. This guy has got thousands of employees underneath him, billions of revenue. And he's saying that his number 1 job is recruitment. He spoke about the young coach, which reminds me of the young CEO who was trying everything: sales, marketing, operations, finance, strategic partnerships, invoicing. I used to have hair, and it all went. And I think it's so interesting that when Dan's looking at all the things that a CEO can do, the number 1 thing which will move the needle the most is recruitment. Dan specifically states that talent strategy trumps business strategy every day of the week. And it is so true. If you think about roofing business A and roofing business B, your market, your niche, your clients, your systems, your brand, your website, even your playbook, your way of doing things, none of that is unique to you. Anyone else can steal it. The only true differentiating factor between company A and company B is their people. And the guys at the top realize that. So I've put together Luke's lessons off the back of these interviews. So talent strategy trumps business strategy. So everyone that's here who owns a business, who has a team, genuinely ask yourself the question, do you have a talent strategy? Are you just winging it? Are you just taking who's available? Because the best in class, they're proactive with their talent strategy, and that is how they get results. Another point that Dan made is that recruiting is a company-wide function. It is not a function of HR. If the most important thing in your business is people, why would you delegate that to one person in a department? It should be a company-wide responsibility. And Dan says that he expects from everyone at SRS, whether a VP, a manager, they're in operations, or a delivery driver, he expects them to sell SRS. Dan says that when he comes to events like this, he's always looking, who could be my next superstar? It might not be tomorrow, it might be 5 years down the line, but he's always out there scouting, and he expects the same for his team. One thing that Dan said was, if you find someone who you value, who you really like, and you say to them, listen, if anything ever happens with your current employer, there will always be something here with us. And Dan told me how powerful that was. There's people that he's said that to 10 years ago that he's then hired today because he's been planting those seeds along the way. You don't become the largest roofing company in America or the fastest growing by being reactive. You get there by design. You get there by being proactive. So think about that. Next, we have my good friend, Steve Little. Now, when the habit came up, begin with the end in mind, I knew that Steve was the guy for it. Because when I first met Steve, he introduced me to a few people in his organization, and he told me these will be the leaders of tomorrow. What also stood out about Steve is his job title wasn't CEO, director, big dog. It was head coach, because that's how Steve views business. He sees his business as a sports team: attack, defense, specials. This is what Steve had to say about begin with the end in mind.
And so we began with the end in mind. And we decided that we wanted to create a company of 100 people. We didn't want to do any more than $12, $15 million in volume, because that would dictate what our investment would be, what our human capital acquisitions and equipment acquisitions would need to be. And we wanted to be very special in our particular segment of the construction industry, which was building envelope. So we did that. And we knew that in any business or in any marriage or in any friendship, it was all about people. And so we had to acquire, we had to partner, we had to bring in the right people and show them that we had this game plan, to show them that we had the end in mind of what we were doing. And every action that we would have would fall under a criteria of rules, which we called core values. And so we had to have a core purpose and a core vision. And then we had to celebrate that. And so knowing where we wanted to get to 3 years later, we built this game plan. And it has served us extremely well, because our number one goal was finding good people.
Think about that. Two titans of the industry. The number one priority is finding people. Do you look at your business that way? You should. So what I found really interesting about Steve is the clarity section of it. A lot of people have got dreams, goals, and ideas, but these dreams, these goals, if they're saved in your head, that is all they are, just a dream. If it's written down with a definitive date that you can work towards, it then becomes a game plan. And that's what Steve done. Steve, Keith, and Jane, they sat down. Steve was like, I'm the business guy. Keith is the operations guy. Jane is finance. We know our lanes. They picked a future date, but they will have a certain revenue. They'll have a certain market share. They'll have a certain organizational structure, and they'll have a certain profit margin. They then reverse engineered every milestone to get them there. And what he also done was he put his talent strategy into that, and he reverse engineered his talent strategy. So if you think about it, if you're saying in 2030, I want to have a VP of commercial, but I don't want to just hire someone from another company. I want to train them up to do it our way. So really, if they're a VP of commercial in 2030, in 2028, they'll be an operations manager. In 26, they'll be a senior PM. In 24, they'll be a PM. So that means today, or last year, we need to start looking for project managers. Now, how Steve uses this vision as a tool to recruit is he shows them the entire vision, the milestones, how their career can grow. And he's got so many people within his business, I think he calls them the growers or something, that have got plans and career paths in front of them. Now, if you think about it, the A players, the best people in the industry, they have a plan for their career and where they want to go. If you can't give them one, you don't deserve A players, and you won't get them. You'll have B players, you'll have C players, and it will be your fault. And you do need to take responsibility for that. So, just to recap, it's all about the people. Have a clear strategy, a date, reverse engineer the talent strategy, and that is where you can sell the vision to A players. Okay, next, put first things first. So these first two sections is very much about going out, getting it, recruiting, being proactive, having a plan, having a vision. This section here is a little bit more about retention and engagement, okay? So, Reed Ribble built, sold the Ribble Group of companies. He became the CEO of the NRCA. He done amazing things for our industry. And then he became a congressman and had a very successful career in there. So Reed has been successful in roofing, in business, in politics, and he knows what he's talking about. So I asked Reed, when it comes to recruitment, when it comes to retention, when it comes to putting first things first, what should you guys do? And this is what Reed said.
Having an outside source that has contacts that are more global, at least in the entire state of Wisconsin, or they've got in the upper Midwest, or nationally, where people can be recruited from some other part of the country, can often be really beneficial, because using an outside source to help find people is something that you should not poo-poo. And I have a tendency to watch colleagues of mine who made the mistake of just trying to hire someone local, and they'd go through 3, 4, 5 people, when what they really needed was a professional to help them find somebody that fit the gap that they had.
So let's unpack this, right? So what Reed's talking about here is putting first things first. We're talking about going out and getting new people. And I heard someone say earlier, there's no good salespeople in my local area. So how many of you assume that the total addressable candidate market is the people who live in a commutable distance from your office? And you just think, oh, well, that's the best that I can get. And then you settle, and you take them just because they're there. You feel as if you don't have any other choice, but it's a mental block that you have. And what Reed is saying here is, first of all, put first things first. Who is our total addressable candidate market that we can bring into the fold? Is it just our competitors in the local area? Is there other industries in the local area? Or, given the fact that recruitment, people is the most important aspect of your company, use a talent partner. Now, Dan Tinker, he uses a talent partner. Steve Little, he uses a talent partner. So does Reed. So if you think that it's not worth the money or it doesn't work, I promise you it's a mental block that you've got. The greats are using recruiters, they're using talent partners, and I know a guy. Okay. So, just to go back on Reed first, what Reed is saying here is use a talent partner, think bigger. But what he's also said is the employee that you settle for today is the one who will be in a performance plan tomorrow. You've got a responsibility to your business, to your people. If you have A players, the last thing that they want is B players and C players. They despise it. So you have a responsibility to your business. If you genuinely want to be number one, you genuinely want to be A players, do not settle for what's available. Look at the bigger network, come to a recruiter, speak to your colleagues in the NRCA or any of your associations. Roofing is a very incestuous industry. And if you start telling people that you need help, they will come. So there's the lessons there. So, think win-win. So for this one, I had actually asked Steve Little. I said, Steve, who can I choose for think win-win? And what Steve said to me was that Ken Kelly is one of the best people he's ever met in his life. I then met Ken and I heard about his story. What most people don't know, and I hope Ken doesn't mind me sharing, is that when Ken was very young, his father had a roofing company. He fell off a ladder, he broke both his wrists. His only employee quit, and Ken then had to take over the company and run it. Ken's dad didn't like how he was doing things, so he got kicked out the house and told to figure it out himself. At the same point, Kev's girlfriend fell pregnant. So he's 17 years old, he's got a roofing business, he's got a kid on the way, life's hitting him fast, and he needs to get to the next level. Most people would crumble, but not Ken. Ken built the business, he sold the business, he retired at 47 years old. He now spends half of his time in his private jet, living the life, and the other half of his time giving back, teaching contractors about operational excellence, financial freedom, and doing a lot of it pro bono as well. So Ken's been picked because he's a great of this industry, and he has the knowledge that could unlock the success of your business. So here is what Ken had to say.
As a business leader, it's my job to provide a career facility for all of our employees. That means I have to be able to be in a growth mindset. I can't be in a place where I'm just complacent or happy, because people want to continue growing. And once they reach that ceiling or the perceived ceiling, they're going to look elsewhere. So for us, it was always, what can we do to expand different product offerings or geographic territories or growing the organization in size, so that we always have a career path for those individuals who are working hard and continuing their career. We want them to stay within the organization. So if someone left, I had to look internally to say, wow, I failed to provide that person that upward mobility. You know, when IBM did a study back in the late 1990s, and they asked people, well, the 3 top reasons why you continue to work where you work. Pay was number 3. Number 2 was, I'm being recognized for the effort that I'm putting in, either by my immediate boss or by my customer. Number 2 was, I have the opportunity for advancement. And as I said, number 3 was pay. So for me, I need to spend my day telling everyone and showing them how important they are to not only us, but to the organization and to our customers. And I have to give them that upward mobility, so they're constantly learning, constantly getting promotions, constantly moving in the organization, so that they feel like everything is new and improved and not stagnant.
So let that sink in. Now, in the full conversation with Ken, and backing up in everything I say about recruitment, we know that the market is small. Skill shortage, generation gap, aging workforce, hyper competitive now with all the private equity money coming in. So if the market is so small and we need to look out with the market to recruit, where do we recruit? And I asked Ken. And what Ken said was, I hire winners because winners win. And it is so true. Ken told me the employee avatar that usually worked at Kelly Roofing. And it was someone that was committed to winning, usually had a sports background. They spent time in the gym, not just competing with others, but competing with themselves. And I must admit, it rings true, because I've got 3 superstars sitting right there. One was a bodybuilder, one was a boxer, and the other one, he was basketball, football, swimming, everything. The model works. But what Ken is also saying is, yes, you can recruit in personality and train on skill, and you can bring winners in, but winners will only come and work for another winner. You need to embody it. You need to be a leader. That is what's going to attract them. And then when you attract them, then you've got a new challenge altogether. You need to keep them. Winners are winning, developing, getting to the next level. So when they come into your organization, if you cannot offer upward mobility, you will lose them. And it will be your fault. So what Ken was saying is, He's looking at his business. He's seeing he's got these superstars. He knows he won't be able to hold on to them unless he's growing as a person and he is growing his business. So that's what Ken done. New divisions, new markets, providing upward mobility. And the business scaled and scaled and scaled, and they won. My lessons from that is recruiting personality, trade on skill, winners win, winners need to be challenged, winners need upward mobility, and if winners leave you, it's because you have not given them an environment to win in. What I would also say is that when my dad joined the roofing industry 50 years ago, it was a very different world from when I joined it 10 years ago. And it's a very different world 10 years ago to what it is now. There has been a paradigm shift. Back in my dad's day, if he needed an estimator or a project manager or a sales guy, there was 5 or 6 lining up ready to go. The game has changed. There has been a paradigm shift. If I've got a good estimator, I've got 10 companies that will hire them like that. So you need to stop thinking about what you can get for your employee and think win-win. That's how you will attract the best, and that's how you will rise to the top. And honestly, I can't understate this enough, overstate it enough. The taller that I climb in business and the higher the people that I speak to, the more they give, the more they think win-win. Ken said this in the meeting. He said, whatever it was that I gave, it always returned it to me tenfold. And I'm telling you, that is a lot of success. It actually makes commercial sense to give and to think win-win. Not only is it the right thing to do, but it's a good business and talent strategy. So, think win-win. Okay. So, when we're thinking win-win, we're trying to internalize things a little bit more, okay? And we're thinking about other people, their internal wants, their desires, their needs. And this habit is genuinely a law to live by. And the man who I've learned from in this habit is Randy Korak. So Randy has been in the industry for years, and he's grown a roofing platform, Roofing Corp of America. I believe that they're about 800 million right now. They will surpass the 1 billion mark. And you don't get there without being good with people. So I spoke to Randy about seek first to understand, then to be understood. How does he use it to recruit, retain, and engage his employees? This is what he said.
I think it's the most important habit to building interpersonal relationships. I've had plenty of experiences in my life where there was, let's call it insincere listening, being behaved by a colleague or a boss that resulted in my pretty rapid disengagement in the task or the role. And I learned quite early that when I was being asked questions and my response was not being listened to, it may have been heard, but not listened to when it wasn't being considered as worthwhile input to an eventual decision or influencing the direction of the organization, then I would quickly feel less invested in the role and in the outcomes. But I think about that in the terms of building trust within our organization and trust with colleagues and subordinates. And a lot of that is the level of engagement from team members is directly proportional to how much value they feel, how appreciated they feel, how heard and seen they feel. And that takes work. It takes work to be authentic and sincere in listening to team members, to try and understand them as people, not only as role players or contributors to the organization. And I feel deeply that this active listening, seeking to understand rather than entering into a conversation, a meeting with the sole intent to deliver your point of view, is a really important contributor to relationship building and to team members feeling valued, appreciated, and engaged in the work they perform.
So my mum used to always tell me, she said, look, you've got 2 ears and one mouth, shut up. And what she meant was, Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Now, what Randy said there takes me back to when I was an employee. And he spoke about when he was going to his bosses, his thoughts, ideas, energy. And they were listening to him, but they didn't really hear him, and he felt that. And Randy said that led to the instant disengagement, drop in performance, and your heart starts to leave the door when you get treated like that. I have been guilty of it. Guys are coming into my office, and I'm typing away, but looking at them, not really giving them the time of day. And it's something that I'm trying to work on to get better at, because active listening, conflict resolution, having people feeling seen, heard, understood, it really hits home. I heard a quote once by a previous mentor of mine, and he said, most people feel misunderstood and undervalued. So that would be most people in this room feel misunderstood and undervalued. And what Randy's saying here is he remembers that pain, he felt that pain, and he knows the rapid disengagement, the rapid drop in performance which happens if you don't truly listen and seek to understand your people. This will not just help you in business, it will help you in your relationship, your friendships, with your colleagues. It will help you be a more likable person. And this is a guy who's taking a business to a very high level. And what he's saying is that it's not easy. Trust me, my girlfriend tells me all the time. but it's true. Like, it's not easy to do this work and to not just try and put your unconscious biases, your ways of thinking on people. But if you do the work and you listen, you take things slow, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, that's how you build trust. When you build trust with your employees, you have engaged employees. You can hire A players, you can challenge them, you can give them upward mobility, but if they're not engaged, you're not maximizing it. So it's very clear what's getting said here is that there is a correlation between engaged employees and higher business performance. So if you do the internal work and you treat people right and they feel seen, heard, and understood, and that trust element is there, the performance of your business will rise. Make sense? Okay. Right. So for this one, synergize, we have Charles Antis. Charles is my good friend from California, and he's done so much for this industry. I want to play you the video first, and then I want to tell you a bit about Charles and the lessons that I've got from this guy. But basically what Charles has done is he's found the correlation between profit and purpose, the correlation between corporation, cause, and community. And he's realized that if you can connect what truly matters to someone to their activity at work, everything rises. So here's a few ideas from Charles.
It's not easy, but it's not difficult. There's a few things that you can do. So I'm going to give you a hack. What you need to do is you have to let your people know who you really are. And there's a certain part of your story, and you kind of know what I'm talking about, Luke. Maybe there's a vulnerability in your story. Maybe it's me talking about how desperate I was to solve a family's leak, that I would go up on the roof and literally lie down and help till my head hit the tiles and imagine I'm a drop of water. When I told that story, even being recruited into Spanish to all of my Mexican-born employees, you could have heard a pin drop because I'm speaking a language of vulnerability. That's a real story. So you need to be real with your people, and then you need to know who they are really. And there's one way to do this, and we're all in roofing. So telling about that roof you gave away is a beautiful way, but really it's just sharing something that's meaningful to you, the cause maybe that fulfills you. And when I do an interview, speaking earlier, I always interview. I ask questions like, if you had a super ray gun that could solve any ill in the world, and you would point it and eliminate hunger, where would you spray it? If you had $1 billion and you could spend half of it to solve any ill in the world, what would it be? Those are the questions I ask, because that's what really can happen inside a company, and that's what's happening today. I imagine what we can do together. Here's the hack along with that. So there's something that Antis can help you facilitate. We have these giving cards. If you have seen our calendar, you've seen it. It's a gift card that can only be redeemed at a nonprofit. This is your challenge. This is the hack I give you to your company. Get 10 of these gift cards. We'll give them to you, $25 each. And then you hand it out in your next all teams meeting, everyone on deck, maybe your all office, all teams meeting. Give it to somebody who did something great. Maybe it's your accountants, maybe it's somebody in your team, maybe it's in marketing. And you say, I'm giving this to my accountant or my finance leader because she did this. And then what I want you to do is give this card to the cause that's near and dear to your heart. And next week, tell us why. That's where the magic happens. She's going to tell her moldy mattress story. I remember one time there was a person in one of the accountants that nobody liked. I mean, because she was kind of hard. She was an accountant. No one liked her. And then one day she said, I gave this my giving card to the American Cancer Society. And she told why about her nephew who had cancer. And something happened in us. I watched it as it occurred. We all started to love her. We didn't not like her anymore. We got her why she was the way she was. And we were proud that she was the person watching our money, because we knew what fulfills her. And so that's your hack. The hack is let your team know who you really are by what fulfills you.
Wow. So Charles is the epitome of synergy within our industry. This is Charles's story and how one man made such a big impact. So when Charles's twins were being born, there was complications, and he was basically told there's a very low chance of survival. But if the newborns spent their time laying on the skin of their parent, the survival chances will go up. And at the hospital in California where Charles was, there was a Ronald McDonald House. And the house was for parents of children who had been affected by cancer. And they basically homed Charles for a few weeks, and he just sat there holding his twins, and they survived. And he feels that saved their life. So what Charles done was he wanted to do something to give back. He phoned Bill Good at the NRCA, and he said, Bill, I know what we're going to do. We're going to provide free roofs to every family under the Ronald McDonald Foundation. And Bill thought, wow. And then Bill started calling around contractors. 200 contractors, they all said yes. And all these companies provided time, money, labor, materials to give free roofs to hundreds of families with kids who've got cancer. And it just shows that if you're vulnerable and you can synergize, you can create amazing things. But there's commercial gain in this as well. What Charles does is he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's vulnerable, and he puts that out there. He shares his why. So the trust barrier is there straight away. You know when you go and work for that man, he is what you see. But what Charles has done with giving away so much is he started to see the return on investment for the business, for his heart, for his soul. And he's tried to correlate this with his staff. So that's what he does. He gives the giving coupon. So say the estimator that done, the best estimates, the best ratios in the month, as opposed to giving them money, probably gives them money as well, he gives them a coupon. The coupon can only be redeemed at a charity of that person's choice. So they'll give the coupon to the charity, and they'll come back in and they'll explain to the rest of the team why they done that, why that charity matters to them. And then they're being vulnerable with their team, which brings them closer together. So what that then does is when that staff member is, sending out that extra estimate or making that extra call, there's a correlation between, their purpose, who they actually are, and their job. And that way, when someone's coming into work, they're coming to a job, they're joining a mission, they're joining a cause, and it brings a completely different energy to the table. So synergize is a key habit And there's so many ways that you can do it as well by giving back, giving away. My business, I donated $50,000 to the Roofing Alliance. I've been speaking at schools, colleges, universities, apprenticeship training centres, trying to fill the knowledge gap on recruitment and retention in roofing. And all these seeds that I've been planting over the years, they're coming back 10, 20x now. And I promise you, all the people at the highest level, this is what they do because it works. It's the right thing to do and it also makes commercial sense. So synergize, give back, be humane. Okay, the last lesson, sharpen the saw. Now this is a special one because Chris does not own a roofing company, but he has impacted our industry in a massive way. When I was growing my career, I was looking for someone who could help me be my mentor, my guide, my sage, that could help me communicate everything I know about recruitment and retention to you guys. And then I found Chris Sarnick. So this is a guy who has dedicated his entire life to helping businesses hire better and helping businesses understand the psychology of the people that we're trying to bring in. Chris was the keynote speaker at IRE 2 years ago. He literally wrote the book, Winning the War for Talent, for the NRCA. His processes of how to recruit through Reed Ribble have been onboarded by Congress, and he knows what he's talking about. He's also a board advisor for my business. So here's what Chris had to say to bring it all together.
Really, sharpening the saw is about becoming 1% better every single day. As you as an owner, the best way you can do that is hire people who are smarter than you are. It's hiring people from outside the industry that will bring ideas into you that you would have never come to on your own. And once those people are inside your organization, give them an opportunity to grow on topics that may not be really familiar to the industry. Search engine optimization, conflict resolution, active listening, win-win bargaining, all those kind of things that not only prepare them to get to the next level in your organization, but will help your organization get to the next level in dealing with customers, vendors, and all those other people that are important in your life. Hire people smarter than you are and let them and raise on their shoulders so that someday you can walk away and know that this thing takes on a life of its own.
So Chris told me this: there is no business problem which cannot be solved by hiring someone. Think about that. Any business problem which you're facing right now, it can all be solved by hiring someone. It sounds easy, right? A lot of the advice that Chris has given me is, number one, when people stop growing, they start leaving. People need to be developing personally and professionally to stay engaged, to stay happy, and to grow with your business. But what happens if you've got a small business and you've got a senior project manager and you're like, well, look, I don't have a place for an operations manager. You know, that guy's been with us for 20 years. He's not retiring anytime soon. What do I do? Do I just lose them? Is that my fault? So there's other things that can be done. Number one, delegate to elevate. So you, as the owner, should not be working in the business. You should be working on the business. The captain of the ship is not serving the dinner, putting coal in the fire. He's strategically steering it to success. That is what you should be doing. But you're getting bogged down with all these things that you don't like to do. So what you do, make a list, okay? Use the Stephen Covey 4 quadrants. Make a list of everything that you must do that someone else could do if they were given training, and things that you shouldn't be doing altogether. You will find elements of your business where you can give upward mobility to people by putting them into becoming subject matter experts. It could be your CRM system, for example. Give someone the ability to grow personally and professionally, control that domain, and be the go-to for anyone that needs help with the CRM. It might be SEO. It might be being a drone pilot. There's a million things in the business that probably isn't getting done that could be given to someone else that would make them grow without you having to give them a big, massive promotion and so much more money. You can still incentivize them, but by doing it this way, people are growing, you're delegating, you're being able to work on the business, not in the business, And Chris has taught this to tens of thousands of CEOs around the world. It is not theory. This is the real way to do it, to get to the next level. And just to finish up on that, Chris says this, and I back him on it. I know there's contractors in here from multiple industries, but I speak to roofing. So remember, you're not in the roofing game. You're in the people game. Before you look at your business strategy, focus on your talent strategy, and that is how we will get to the next level. Okay? So, just to recap everything, be proactive. Be proactive with what you want, what your plan is, where you're going, how you're going to do it. Begin with the end in mind. Pick the date, pick the profit, the market share, the hierarchical structure, the people, reverse engineer it all to get there. Put first things first. Look at your total addressable market. Is it big enough? Is it good enough? Is there people in your organization that you could give upward mobility to without even hiring? Think win-win. Hire winners and give them an environment where they can win. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Proactive, active listening. Care. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Synergize. Synergize with the community. Synergize with the causes that mean something to the hearts of your people. Synergize with the world, with other roofers, other businesses. Together, we can achieve more and we can give back. And always be sharpening the saw, always be improving, always be taking it to the next level. Those are the 7 habits. And it's been very difficult for me to be up here and not speak about me and what I do and how I can help you guys. But instead of me speaking, I'm going to play a short video from my friends within the industry.
I'm Charles Antis, and I want to tell you about my friends in the roofing industry that finds our talent, the headhunters that give that industry a good name. It's Roofing Talent America.
Many of us in the roofing industry know the #1 challenge that we face is labor.
A lot of recruiters will say they just staff for roofing positions, and a lot of them don't have the experience in the industry. Luke and his family come from the industry, and they really strive to find the right candidate, and they know what they're looking for. So they're not going to send you candidates that don't fit the roofing industry and the needs that you're going to have.
Y'all love roofing. The knowledge that you have, that you bring to the table, and your involvement in all the different organizations.
It just means a lot to me to see people that are engaged in the industry actually be present in the industry, which Luke is, his team is.
And having you come across the pond and being part of what we're doing and helping us with our recruiting efforts and helping us have sustainable companies where you have educated us on how to keep people and how to recruit people has been very beneficial for K-Post and our industry. So thank you for what you do as well.
We've achieved amazing results. I think in the last 90 days, we've had about 30 placements, extraordinary people. In many ways, we feel like we've been getting the best in the industry, the cream of the crop.
We needed to fill a position for a lead estimator pretty quickly, and they were able to turn it around very quickly and sourced a number of candidates that we were able to choose from, and we picked the one that we felt like had the best cultural fit, and we're really excited to have him on the team.
One of the amazing things that Luke and his team have done and are able to do is they've really placed people that fit our culture well.
Y'all take time to really get to know the client, spend time with them, finding out about the culture, because as we know, culture is one of the most important things. I can teach skill, but I can't teach the culture that we have.
We've done business, and he's placed multiple candidates with us. Every one of them has been phenomenal. They're still here today. Some have exceeded the 12, 18-month mark now. They're thriving in their positions, and I have used that in itself to share with the team nationally, just to kind of reconfirm the value that Roofing Talent of America brings when staffing.
They're all over it. Everything that I've asked, they've delivered on, and they're like pit bulls. They don't stop, which is I think exactly what they need to be in that kind of position. It's great. So
I can't say enough good things.
You can tell that it's not just a sale for you. You're building partnerships, and you truly are helping people.
Persistent, professional, knowledgeable, and he did it all with such humility. At the end of it, when I called to thank him for the placement, and I'm not going to say how many years, but in all of my years of doing this, the first thing that he said was, you know what, Lori, it wasn't just me, it was us. I have never heard that, so that is awesome.
But with Roofing Talent America, we are hiring in a trade where it's tough to hire top talent. And I want to thank you guys, Luke, and I want to tell all of the roofers across the USA, if you want to build a team of purposeful people that know why they exist, keeping stuff that matters safe and dry, then call Luke and Roofing Talent America. Thank you.
So if anyone wants to speak to me about the 7 habits or how Roofing Talent America can help, come and see me, and thank you for listening.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Luke. Love it. Let's get another round of applause for my man. Best dress. All right.